Ashah. That's what Ayash is man. Ashah is woman. Go ahead.
Verse 4. Wayamar Hamalak it's like Al I'm a Sha'ah Haza Ak Laya Ayash Yahawada Shalashah Yamayam Yam Wa'ataya Wa'atha Gaha Paha Aimad. In the English, 2 Samuel chapter 19, verse 41. Sorry. And behold, all the men of Israel came to the king. Why have our brethren, the men of Judah, stolen thee away, and have brought the king and his household, and all David's men with him over Jordan? And all the men of Judah answered the men of Israel, because the king is near a king to us. Wherefore then we be angry for this matter?
Right. So it's one part of Israel. So now as David is uniting, everybody doesn't know that David is coming. So as David is coming over the land of Jordan and going through the land, different people are now seeing him and now afraid. And some of them expect to be killed, and he said, "No, just come with me. We're going to unite." And now the part of Israel that was against David has joined David. They come to the other part of Israel, and they saying, "Why have you stolen David? You stolen David and his men? Like, what are you doing?" And now they have to explain, like, "No, we did not kidnap David. We all joining back as one now." Go ahead.
Have we eaten at all the king's coast, or have he given us any gifts? Verse 43. And the men of Israel answered the men of Judah and said, We have 10 parts in the king, and we have also more right in David than ye. Why then did ye despise us, that our advice should not be first, and had to bring back our king? And the words of the men of Judah were fiercer than the words of the men of Israel.
Right. Israel didn't want to listen to Judah. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were split, and now they're coming to come back together. They like, why should we listen to you? But Judah speaking up and saying, look, we're gonna get back everything back in order. But Judah is the leading tribe. We're gonna run this nation. So that was the argument. The argument was coming together. Why should we listen to you? And then they heard Judah, as you see, it says Judah's words were fiercer than his. Go ahead.
2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 1. And there happened to be there a man of Belial, whose name was Shabah, the son of Bichri, a Benjamite. And he blew a trumpet and said, We have no part in David, neither have we inheritance in the son of Jesse. Every man to his tents, O Israel.
Right. So now, now it's some stubbornness. Like, David went to one half of the kingdom, that he would have went back to one half of Judah, and Judah was like, okay, we're gonna band up, we're gonna now make things right. Now he's going up to a part where Benjamin is at, and that brother is like, nah, we're not joining together. Go ahead.
Verse 2. So every man of Israel went up from after David and followed Shabah, the son of Bichri.
Right. So now this half, David's plan was to join this half. When this Benjamin is stepping up, everybody, that half of Israel that Judah, that David was trying to unite with, still decided to roll with Benjamin at the time. Go ahead.
But the men of Judah clave to their king,
right,
from Jordan even to Jerusalem.
Right.
And David came to his house at Jerusalem, and the king took the 10 women and his concubines, right, who he had left to keep the house, and put them inward and fed them, but went not into them. So they were shut up until the day of their death, living in the widowhood. Verse 4. Then said the king to Amasai, assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days.
And I think he did that. He did that because his son had sex with him. So because he came back home to his concubines, but remember to disrespect, as Absalom, his son, as they split, Absalom had sex. Well, first, it was a curse against David because what David did when he took the brother's wife.
Right.
So now, and the Lord told him that he was going to be shamed. So his own son, the prophecy came to pass. David's son Absalom had sex with those 10 concubines, and everybody seeing that, okay, this brother Absalom is marrying these women, taking his father's concubines and wives, and he did that to show the people around him respect David. Like, David is nothing. I'm the king now. It was just in their eyes the reason. So he did that to show there's no respect here, so you shouldn't respect David either. Respect me as a king. It's just like if I'm the king. If a brother, if Kagar is a king, I come in and take over his land, and I'd like throw all Kagar's stuff out the window and I burn it. So it's not it's not an honorary transition. Like kings kings and presidents, could they have a transitional period where as though there's a new king or a new president.
Right.
And it could be a good transition where as though the old president is like, here's your new president, or the king is like, here's your new king. Or it could be a disrespectful one, just like how what Trump is. They're ready to throw Trump stuff out of the White House. Right. So with Absalom, it was the same thing. Absalom came into David's seat, and it was disrespect. Like, we didn't want him in here anyway. You know what? And I'm gonna have sex with this woman. So now the people who seen him would not have respect for David either. They respect the new king. So now when David came back to his house, he fed the concubines and his wives, but he did not have sex with them no longer. So they just went without no husband. He wasn't going to go behind his son now and remarry them. That's what that was his decision. Go ahead.
So I think sis had a question.
Yeah, I was at you just answered what I was trying to ask.
Oh,
was that the reason why?
Yeah, that was the reason why. Yeah, because he came to his concubines, fed them, and they ate. But it says now they're going through the widowhood, where it's the widow just meaning not having either your husband died or you no longer have a husband.
Right.
So now you're a widow. So they went through that the rest of their lives because of David was like, I'm not going back into them after my son.
So I have a question about the concubines. Concubines is basically you go into war. Mm-hmm. Their men are killed in battle.
The women are spoils of the land. So concubines is if you go to a land, sometimes and they not these sometimes aren't Israelite women either. Like you might fight some heathens and whatever women in that land. If you want them, you can take them because there are wars. There are spoil. What you call it? Wars of spoil. They're that land. So usually spoils of war. So usually, sometimes when you take over a land, you can take their flock, their cow, their calves, their belongings, and they would take their women also. At other times, the Lord will say, "Don't take nothing, not even a garment."
Right.
And there's one story where brother did take a beautiful garment of a heathen, but it was against the Lord, so the Lord punished that whole nation for that one brother.
Right.
Good.
So when we do war, as far as the concubines, if they heathens, you just take them for servants, right?
Right, but they can be your wife. But what you would do, some customs was like if you fought a heathen nation and took over the land, what they would do is they would shave that woman. So if it's whatever Hamite, whatever, you would shave her head bald, and you would take her nail, like I guess her nails to her are beautiful. So you would trim them, you would file them down. She don't have to stay like that, but that's how she would come into the house like that. That concubine.
It's like my question was, if we're at war
Mm-hmm.
and then we go to battle, but we win. I'm saying about like the people who we went to war with,
Right.
and our brothers fell. Is that woman? Would that woman be a concubine in that instant?
Oh, could she be a concubine? She could.
Because
yes.
her husband fell.
If okay, I get what you're saying. She could be, yeah.
Even if it's within the same army, you know what I mean?
Oh, so I'm not getting what you're saying.
All right, so
if me and you in the army,
and then
you
I
pass
fall,
or you pass. No.
And you take my rib. Would that be a concubine to you?
No. And what will happen is, so if me and you in the same army and then you pass away, the first thing would be, if you had a brother, one of your brothers would take your wife, and that they would have a kid and then name him Bakwasha. If not, if you didn't have any brothers, then your rib it's up to her. Like, she can choose not to marry after that, or she will wait some time. There's in the Bible, there's a time where she's a widow, and then after that time is up, she can marry again. So that's how that would work. That's
So I got one more question. So when the Israelite brothers that was in war, when they did take heathen women for like concubines, wasn't they breaking the law as far as like if they took them as a wife?
No, I mean, it's not. It's law of spoil. Like what was that? Ishmael and Israel, or Ishmael and Jacob. Ishmael's mother was a heathen.
Right.
Hagar, that's his mother. Ishmael, of course, is the Arabs.
Okay.
But they Ishmael and the brother that we come from, both were Abraham's son.
Right.
Abraham's sons. But basically, no, they were servants, basically. And then Hagar was his wife's handmaid, Abraham's wife's handmaid.
Right.
So, I mean, I know it's confusing. It's like, don't have sex with heathens.
Right.
Some of it was, like when Moses had the Ethiopian, that was before he was in the truth. That was one of his ribs, and he didn't, couldn't get rid of her.
Okay.
Other times it was spoiled. So, if you have a rib before you come to the acknowledgement of the laws, then you have to keep her.
Okay.
After you know the laws, then you don't. But I can understand. I think it just in the spoils of war, it seems different. But I'll come back and answer your question again with a better answer. But as far as I know, only in spoils of war, you would take them women and they'll be your servant.
Okay.
But you can't make them your handmaid. They are your servants, and they can't be your concubines.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the concubines that was left with from what was his name?
Absalom.
Absalom. Yeah. We don't know if it was willingly or not. Do we?
At that time. So at that time, it's just like they just did it. Like, that was a king, and they followed the order. Not saying that they liked it or did not like it, but it was a believable order. They just had to follow because that's who was ruling. Yeah, no, it's different, but with America, and as the time goes on, women have more rights now. Then it was different. So it'll be confusing time, and that's why some women who who are hard-headed or who are influenced by they're Americanized. America, Bible on the whole, they fill our women with a lot of liberal liberty, which is not sometimes good, but our women now are used to that liberty. So now when you hear about something where as though you have to have discipline or you just have to follow the order and submit your will no matter what, can bother you if you read scripture like that. So I get why you asked the question. Like, was it consensual? But back then is rape was unlawful because you got killed for raping. But this one, he was a king. Go on.
And assemble me the men of Judah. Sorry, verse 4 is on top. Then said the king of Amaziah, assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present.
Then appear on a margin, which means to stand.
Computer's wrong. You need a man.
To Barak, present thyself.
Barak ban Yahweh ban Yashala.
Barak, ban Yahweh, ban Yashala.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Barak a thumb.
Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Barak thumb. Yeah.
What?
Which means to sit.
We at 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 5. Waha laka I-Mashal laha za'ai yaka of Yahweh what ya yakar Mana ha hama wa I ashar wa I the what verse 6 ya I the what verse 6 waha amar waya amar dabada al abad yasha ya ataha Yarai Lana Wa Shabai Bana Bun. So like a Bun Bakar Bakara Ya Mana Mana Abashala Wam Ataha Atha Kaka Atha Ath Abadia Adanan Salaki Adanan Yak Wabadpa Waradpa Rabada also like it Rabada Akar Yawa Pun Mataza'a Lawa Ira Yum Bataza Rawath Wahat Taza Yala Salaki Wahat Taza Yala Aya Nanawa verse 7 Wahat Taza Awa Akar Yawa Ana Shaya Yawa Abba Waha Karathya Waha Palathya Wakar Hagar Rayam Hagabarium Waya Taza Wa Awa Maya Rawa Shalom Laradpa Laradat Akarya Shabai Bun Bakarya verse 8 Hama Hama Ain Ha'ab Ha'aban Hagad Walaha Ashar Bagab I won Wa'ai Mashar Ba'a Lapan Yaham Waya Wa'ab Kaga War Marawa Laba Shawa Wa'ai Lawa Hagar War Salaki Kagar War Karab Mataza Madath Al Mathan Yawa Salaki Bathai Raha Bathaira Wa'a Yataza'a Pala verse 9 Waya Amal Yawa Abba La'ai Salaki La'ai Masha'a Hashalam Atha Akaya Watha Kaza Yar Yum Yawa Abba Bazakna Amashar Lana Shaka Lawa verse 10 Wa'ai Mashar La'a Nashamar Baka Rabah Ashar Bayad Yawa Abba Wahak Hawa Baha Al Wayakawa Salagi Baha Al Hakamash Pak Ma'ai Gewa Arataza Wala'a Shanha Lawa Wayamath Waya Abba Wa'a Bayasha Akayawa out of Salaki Radak Akaraya Shabai Bun Bakar verse 11 Wa'a Hasha Wa'ayash Imad Alayahwa Shana Salaki Mana Iraya Yawa Abba Waha Amar Waya Amar Maha Maya Ashar Kapata Taza Ayawa Baya Salaki Baya Wa'a Washaya Salaki Wamaya Ashar La Dawada Akar Yawa Salaki Yawa verse 12 Salah. Is that 2 Samuel 5?
Yeah, 20.
The book of 2 Samuel, chapter 20, verse 5. So, Salah. So Amasa went to the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than the set time which he had appointed him. And David said to Abishai, now shall Shabbat, the son of Rai, do us more harm than did Absalom. Take thou thy Lord's servants and pursue after him, lest he get him fixed cities and escape us. Verse 7. And then went out after him Joab's men and the Cherethites and the Pelethites and all the mighty men. And they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Shabbat, the son of Bichri.
Right. So they ain't gonna allow the split to happen again. Like they're trying to unite the kingdom, and whoever is not trying to unite, well, for this Benjamite, he's gonna die. But they have to kill him. Like, he disagreed, but they not allowing it. Like, David is anointed king, and then Israel must be united, even if it means war now. Go ahead.
God. Verse 8. And when they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him, and upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins, and the sheath thereof, and the shaft thereof. And as he went forth, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, art thou in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. Verse 10. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the 5th rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died. So Joab and Abishai his brother pursued Absalom. And Abishai his brother pursued after Shabbat the son of Bichri. Verse 11. And one of Joab's men stood by him and said, he that favoreth Joab, and he that is for David, let him go after Joab. That's good.
Right. So now they're going to war. The brother, he did not grab him by the beard and kiss him on the lips. He grabbed him by the beard, saluted him. You say you salute a brother, and deceived him and killed and put a sword in him. All right. What verse we in now?
12, 18.
Okay, we can continue on and read the story.
2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 12. Wa'ai Mashal, Matha, Salaki, Matha Gagalgala, Salaki, Matha Gala, Salaki, Gala, Badam, Batha Waka, Hamazalah, Waha, Salaki, Waya, Ra'a, Ha'a, Yasha, Kaya, Imad, Kala, Salaki, Kar, Ha'a, Ha'am, Wayazar, Wayasar, Salaki, Imasha, Mana, Hamasalah, Hashadha, Wayash Laka, Allah Yawa, Al Yawa, Bagad, Ka'ashar, Ra'aha, Kal, Haba'a, Salaki, Al Yawa, Wa'imad, verse 13, Ka'ashar, Haga, Mana, Hamasalah, Ibar, Kar, Ayasha, Salaki, Ayash, Akaria, Yawa, Yawa, Salaki, Yawa, Larad, Salaki, Laradpa, Laradak, Akar, Yuk, Salaki, Akar, Raya, Wabai, Salaki, Shabai, Bun, Baka, Raya, verse 14, Maya, Salaki, Waya, Abba, Bakar, Taya, Shabbatya, Salaki, Yasha Abba Laha, Wabayath, Ma'ai Kaha, Wakar, Habar Yum, Salaki, Waya La Yawa, Waha Salaki, Waya Ba'awa, Apa, Akar Yawa, verse 15, Waya Barwa, Waya Tazara, I love Yawa, Balaha, Bayath, Hama'ai Kaha, Wayash, Pakwa, Salah Laha, Al, Ha'ayar, Wayath, Imad, Bakal, Wakal, Ha'an, Ashar, Yawa Abba, Mashur Kayath, Salakia, Yashur Kayath, Yam, Lahab Pala, Haka Wam, Salakia, Haka Wam, verse 16, Watha Kara, Ashaha, Kakam Ha, Mana, Ha'ayu, Salaki, Yar, Shemaiwa, Salaki, Amarwa, Na'ar, El, Yawa Abu, Kara, Hana, Salaki, Hana, Wa'ai, Baraha, Ala Yakar, verse 17, Waya Kara, Ala Yaha, Watha Amar, Sha'a, Ha'atha, Yawa, Salaki, Yawa Abu, Waya Amar, Anaha, Hanaya, Salaki, Hanaya, Salaki, Amar, Lawa, Shemai, Dabarya, Amathka, Waya Amar, Shemai, Ankaya, verse 18, with the Amar, La'amar, Dabar, Yad Barwa, Yadabarwa, Bar Shanha, Bar Arshana, La'a, Salaki, La'amar, Sha'awar, Yashar, Lawa, Ba'a, Bala, Wakan, right? Wakan, Ha'ath, Salak, Hatha, Mawa, verse 19.
That's it.
That's another. The book of 2 Samuel chapter 12, verse, so look, the book of 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 12. And Amasa wallowed in blood in the midst of the highway. And when the man saw that all the people stood still, he removed Amasa out of the highway into the field and cast a cloth upon him. When he saw that everyone that came by him stood still. Verse 13. When he was removed out of the highway, all the people went on after Joab to pursue after Shabbat, the son of Bekrah. Verse 14. And he went through all the tribes of Israel unto Abel and to Beth-Makkah, and all the Bethrites, and they were gathered together and went also after him. And it came and besieged unto him in the Abel of Beth-Makkah, and they cast up a bank against the city, and it stood in the trench, and all the people that were with Joab battered the wall to throw it down. Then cried a wise woman out of the city, Hear, say I. So hear, say I pray you unto Joab, come near hither, that I may speak with thee. And when he was come near unto her, the woman said, Art thou Joab? He answered, I am he. Then she said unto him, Hear the words of thine handmaid. And he answered, I do hear. Then she spake, verse 18. Then she spake, saying, They were wont to speak in old times, saying, They shall surely ask counsel at Abel. And so they ended the matter. That was 18.
Right. So you know they killed the brother, they killed the Benjamite, and now they continue to go and continue to kill the people who are going against David now, not want David to unite the kingdom under his reign. And his sister came out to talk to Joab because she knew who Joab was, and now she's trying to plead the case with the city. But it was what was it, 18?
Yeah, that was at 18.
Okay, let's continue up here. We'll be up here.
All right. 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 19. So like 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 19. Anna Kaya Shalom Ya Amo Wayanya Yashar Allah Salaki Yashar Allah. Come on. Yasha Allah. Salaki Yasha Allah. Atha Mabu Salaki Mabba Kasha Lahama Yath Ayor Wa'am Ba'a Salaki Bayasha Sha'Allah Bayasha Allah Lama
Salakia. With the ha sound at the end of the word, normally that's a connector. So it's just like the H without the A
so
sound.
it just be
Lama.
Okay, that's without the H sound. Gotcha. Lama. The water. Thabad La'ai Nakal Latha Yahweh Salah. Verse 20. Waya Anan Yahweh Abba Baha Amar Salah Waya Amar Kala Yalla Hala Salah Ka La Ya Salah Ka laha. Ka laha. Laya. Abba la'ai. Wa'am. Asha. Ashaka. Yah. Verse 21. La'a. Kan. Hadabara. Hadabar. Kaya. Ayam. Salaki. Ayash. Mahama. Apa Yum. Shaba'ai. Bun. Bakarya. Shamwa. Yasha. Salaki Nasha. Nasha'a. Nasha'a. Yadwa. Salaki Bama Laka. Bamalak. Badawada. Salaki Thanwa. Athawa. Athwa. Labadwa. Wa'a. Salaki Wa'a. Laka. Ma'ila. Ma'al. No, I'm ready. Okay. Ma'al. Ha'ayah. Watha Amar. Ha'ash. Ha. Al. Yawa Abba. Yawa Abu. Hana. Ra'a Shawa. Mashallah. Al Yaka. Ba'ai. Haka Wama. Verse 22. Watha Wa'a. Ha'asha. Al Kar. Ha'ain. Baka Kamtha. Waya Karathwa. Ath. Ra'ash. Shabai. Bun. Bakarya. Waya Shalakwa. Al. Yawa Abba. Waya Thakar. Bashawa Par. Waya Patazawa. Ma'ala. Ma'al. Ha'aya Yar. Al Yawa. Salaki. Al Yasha. Ayash. La'a. Hala Yawa. Waya Abba. Shabbat. Shabbat. Yara Washa. Wara Washa Shalaham. Al Hamalak. Verse 23. Verse 23. Waya Abba. Al Kal. Hataza Ba'a. Yashar Allah. Waban Yaha. Bun. Yahweh Yahweh Ya'ai Al Haka Raya Wa'al Hapalathia, verse 24. Wa'adar Al Hamasa Waya Wash. Good night. Waya Ha Washapat Bun Akaya Lawad Hamataza Hamazak Hamazak Yahweh Hamazak Yah, verse 25. Washa Ya'a Sapar Wataza Da Waka Wa'a Bayathar Kahan Yam Ar Hamasa Wayaha. I think I read that. Salaki, verse 26. Yeah, that was it. That's a lot.
So like we can go back and so I can break down why. Give me verse
In the English.
Second Samuel, chapter 20 and 4. Go ahead.
20 and 4.
God.
The book of 2 Samuel chapter 20 verse 4. Then said the king to Amasa, assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present.
So Amasa was one of the brothers who was the commander of Absalom's army. So when Israel was one, we know Joab was the general. When the kingdom split, Joab went with David. So now they needed a new general for the new king. I mean, a new general for Israel while it was split. So Absalom, David's son, chose Amasa as their general to replace Joab. So now as David is bringing the kingdom back, David didn't get rid of, David already had his general who was Joab, but he didn't get rid of Amasa. He kept him too. So now that's why David, the king, told Amasa, look, assemble the men of Judah because we're going to go and now get that Benjamite. And now when you read down, go ahead and read. We're going to read. Go ahead, continue.
Continue from 4 and 19.
4. Go ahead.
4.
Mm-hmm.
Then said the king to Amasa, assemble me the men of Judah within 3 days, and be thou here present.
Within 3 days, that was an order. Come back in 3 days with the men. Go ahead.
So Amasa went to assemble the men of Judah, but he tarried longer than the set time which he had appointed him.
Right. So, there was showing disloyalty because the king said be there in 3 days, and there's no excuses. Like the king said, you got to be there in 3 days. Be there in 3 days, you better go to war.
Right.
He didn't come in 3 days. So since he didn't come in 3 days, we're going to read that Joab and another brother. Go ahead.
Verse 6. And David said to Abishai, now shall Sheba, the son of Bechri, do us more harm than did Absalom.
Right.
Take thou thy Lord's servants and pursue after him, lest he get him fenced cities and escape us.
Right. So David was trying to chase after him so he does not, because he cannot get away. Because if he gets away, Sheba is going to do worse than his own son did. He's going to turn Israel against David, and then they're going to go to war or try to kill David, things like that. It'll be worse. Go ahead.
Verse 7. And there went out after him Joab's men, and the Cheronites, and the Pelethites, and all the mighty men, and they went out of Jerusalem to pursue after Sheba, the son of Bechri. Verse 8. When they were at the great stone which is in Gibeon, Amasa went before them, and Joab's garment that he had put on was girded unto him, and upon it a girdle. Upon it a girdle with a sword fastened upon his loins, and the sheath thereof. Right. And as he went forth, it fell out. And Joab said to Amasa, art thou in health, my brother?
So Joab So Joab was trying to act like he's old, like my sword fell out, and he said, he's like, he looked at Amasa like, you're in good health. So I guess he was asking for help. Go ahead.
And Joab took to Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him.
Right. So now he greeted them because they was meeting up. He greeted them. Go ahead.
But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand.
Right.
So he smote him therewith. So he smote them therewith in the 5th rib, and shed out his bowels to the ground, and struck him not again, and he died.
So why would Joab kill one of now who was David's commanders? He did it because they assumed that Amasa was trying to, because you got to remember, Amasa was one of the brothers who went against David when the kingdom split. So now when the kingdom's coming back together, Amasa is still doing, shady things. Like David said, be here in 3 days. You didn't come in 3 days. You stayed a little longer. Like you're trying to let this Benjamite flee. You're trying to let him get away. That's why. So Joab caught on to what Amasa was doing. He's like, okay, this brother did not come in 3 days. He still is against David, and he's still like, if he let that Benjamite get away, he wouldn't be surprised if Amasa went with the Benjamite and go against David again, because he did it before. So Joab killed Amasa right there. It's like, you know what? You trying to let you're supposed to be on our side and bringing back David to his full authority, but you delaying us, and you're trying to delay the men from chasing behind the Benjamite. You must, hate David, or you must be trying to turn against David again. So Joab killed him. Go ahead.
God.
Okay, I just wanted to break down that part.
19.
Okay, go ahead, read 19.
Come. 2 Samuel chapter 20, verse 19.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of them that are peaceable and faithful in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Thou seekest to destroy a city and a mother in Israel.
Right. So she came out. She said, "Look, we wasn't able to say anything because we were taking counsel of another." This is when the kingdom was split. So she said, at a time, we were split. We were taking counsel from another man. But I'm with Israel being together. I'm and then she asked Joab, are you going to kill a mother of Israel, a mother that's in Israel? And are you going to take a city that stands for Israel? Go ahead.
God. Why wilt thou swallow up the inheritance of the Lord?
Right. We are the heritage of the Lord also. We're Israelites also. Go ahead.
And Joab answered and said, far be it from me that I should swallow up or destroy.
Right. Joab said, no, I didn't come to destroy all Israel. Go ahead.
21. The matter is not so, but a man of Mount Ephraim, Shabbat the son of Bechrai by name, and have lifted up his hand against the king, even against David. Deliver him only, and I will depart from the city. And the woman said unto Joab, behold, his head shall be thrown to thee over the wall.
Right, and that's what it was. Like they like Joab and other brothers who were behind him, they were knocking down the wall, but they were willing to flip a whole city over and shake it upside down. So those sisters trying to plead, like, look, don't turn our city upside down and burn everything and destroy the city and kill us. We Israelites, we're Israel. We're gonna stand for David. Let us, get this brother and not destroy all of us for one man. But that's how it shows you how hardcore these brothers was. Like, they'll flip a whole town for one man in the name under the King David. Right. Go ahead.
Verse 22.
So, when it says his head shall be thrown, he was beheaded and they threw it over the wall.
Yeah, because it was a wall. The city was, some cities were built with a wall,
right? And
they were trying to knock this wall down. And the sister came out like, "What, Salagit? What's going on? Like, please, are you Joab? Like, I know who you are. You a hardcore brother. Like, please, can I talk to you?" And he said, she's like, "Go." He said, "Go ahead, and speak." And she like, at one time, we were taking counsel from a brother that was against David, but now, things are different. Like, we're going to stand with you. Are you going to kill a mother in Israel? Are you going to take down the city? We have that's what she was like. Are you going to destroy the inheritance of the Lord? Like, you're going to destroy the Lord's people? Like, we your brothers and sisters. Right. Are you going to destroy us? And he was like, "No, I'm not here to destroy the whole Israel, but, we got to find this man. So I'll knock down your wall if it means to get to this brother." Go ahead.
Verse 22. Then the woman went unto all the people in her wisdom, and they cut off the head of Shabbat the son of Bechrai, and cast it out to Joab. And he blew a trumpet, and they retired. And they retired from the city, every man to his tent. And Joab returned to Jerusalem unto the king.
Right. So that's what he did. So instead of them knocking down that wall and flipping the whole town, Sister was like, "No, I'll go talk to the people. We're gonna find them." They found him and threw his head over the wall to Joab to show he's dead now. Joab seen the seen the head, said the water, blew the horn to get the army back and turn the army around. Go ahead.
Now Joab was over all the hosts of Israel, and Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, was over the Cherethites and over the Pephlites. Verse 24. And Adoram was over the tribute, and Jehoshaphat, the son of Ahilud, was recorder. Verse 25. And Shavah was scribe, and Zadok and Abathar were the priests.
Right. So it's just breaking down David, who David had in charge over the city. Now David's trying to reunite the kingdom, and then he set up his ranks, his priests, his officers, and his generals and things like that. Wrap it up. That I'm gonna break the concubines. Give me Deuteronomy 21 and 11.
Okay.
Concubines are, of course, these women you went in war, and they were under your rib. Like if you had a wife, she was not your concubine. And your wife is not the same thing. Your rib is over your concubine that you went in war. She was in a lower state than your rib.
Right.
Go ahead.
Come.
This is the law for concubine. Go ahead.
The book of Deuteronomy. Chapter 21, verse 11. Mm-hmm. And seest among the captives.
Let me give you 10, verse 10.
Come. Verse 10. When thou goest forth to war against thy enemies.
Right. So you go to war against your enemies. This could be your brothers. It could be, heathens. Go ahead.
Come. And the Lord thy God hath delivered them into thy hands, and thou hast taken them captive. Verse 11. And seest among the captives a beautiful woman.
Right. So if you go to war and you the Lord delivered them to your hands, you see a woman, that's beautiful to you. Go ahead.
Come. And has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to thy wife. Mm-hmm. Then thou shalt bring her home to thy house.
Right.
And she shall shave her head and pare her nails.
Right. And
she shall put the raiment of her captivity from off her.
Right. So she shall, she's gonna shave her head. This is all to become new.
Right.
New now. Like she's gonna shave her head. She's gonna, file her nails down. She's gonna take off the clothing that she had from being conquered, and now she's gonna put new clothes on. Go ahead.
Okay. And shall remain in thy house, and bewail her father and her mother a full month. Mm-hmm. And after that, thou shalt go in unto her.
Right. So you're gonna wait a month, and she's gonna bewail. So, give me the definition for bewail. Let me see if this is cry. Right. She's sorrow. So right now, she's been after you've been kidnapped and conquered. You know what I'm saying? You are upset. You're crying. You probably got what's the word I'm looking for? Just devastated, depressed, all those things.
PTSD.
I was gonna say that, but I was gonna say it was another word. I was gonna say you got all that. You got you've been whether you're a heathen or brother, just like those are not our brothers, but when America goes over there and bomb the Middle East, it's 6-year-old kids that's being killed that have nothing to do with nothing.
Right. But
because they live in Pakistan, Afghanistan, and all those places, what I'm saying? It's women. Like if there's videos of a van with an Arab family in there, and they get blown up by a plane, and like in the Edomites that's in the plane, it's like saying like, oh well, they don't care,
right?
Because they at war, or they want to destroy that the enemy, whatever they're looking for. So that's devastating for them, and so you let her, cry and be depressed or whatever for a month, and then you take her as your concubine. But she's in a lower state than your rib. You know, she's not, you know, on the same state as your rib. So if you, you know, you say you get you an Israelite woman, you had a rib before, or even after, she's still not over, you know, that rib. If that makes sense, you get what I'm saying? Okay. Was there anything else? Is there any other scriptures?
So that makes sense to me now. Why Sarah could get rid of Hagar.
Hagar, you're right.
Yeah.
Right, because like, you know how she was, like she telling like you know, the sisters talking about with Abraham when Ishmael, you know, they were mocking Abraham's son, you know, who was a full blood, you know, who was Israelite. And she's like, and you know, so Abraham is like, Sarah is telling Abraham, you know, get rid of Hagar. She's mocking us. You know, get rid of her. And then, you know, Abraham did not want to do it. But the Lord told him, you know, it's fine. This is 2 years of your rib. It's fine. Get rid of her. And you can, and it's in that scripture. If you read on.
Okay. And be her husband, and she shall be thy wife.
Right. Read on.
And it shall be, if thou have no delight in her, then thou shalt let her go whither she will.
See, you can let her go. Like you can, like if you don't like her, or you know, for some reason, whatever, you can let her go.
Right.
Go ahead.
Okay.
But you still have to. But it's still a certain way you have to treat her. Go ahead. Explain.
Okay. But thou shalt not sell her at all for money.
Right. You can't sell her, and it's gonna tell you why. You can because she's your servant, but it's the reason why now you can't sell her. Go ahead.
Thou shalt not make merchandise of her, because thou hast humbled her.
Because you had sex with her. Like you can't have sex with her and then try to give her away.
Right.
You just gotta let her go. But if you conquer her, you didn't have sex with her. It's different. You probably could, you know, say, "Hey, brother, here's a concubine. I haven't touched her. Do you want her to be your servant or whatever?" But once you went to that woman, like, you know, it's done. It's over with. That's it. That should be it on that scripture, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can we use verse 13, where it's at the end where it says, shall go in unto her and be her husband, and she shall be thy wife? Could that be a precept to prove that sex is marriage?
Yeah. It says go, because like he waited for a month.
Right.
He waited for a whole month to let her get over her depression and everything that she's going through. It said bewail her husband and father, because like, her mother, and bewail her mother and father, because she's been taken from her family. Her family probably could be dead, or she's just been taken from her family.
Right.
You know, so that's why it says bewail them. And then it says, then go unto her. So yes, that is sex. You know, sex is marriage.
Oh, okay.
Anything else? Okay, that should be it. We can wrap it up, man.
Men up here, I watch, which we should stand. So like, sir, if you could.
Lord, yes, Allah.
So like, if you could one more time. Men of Israel, prepare yourself to gird yourselves to salute the Torah. Yahbashim Yahshabrak
Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shabrak Yah.
Yahbashim Yahshabrak Yah.
Elijah. Wapan Yahawadam, which means turn and face the east. We're going to say the Lord's Prayer, first in Hebrew. Repeat after me. Abanawa.
Abanawa.
Shabbat Shemai.
Shabbat Shemai.
Kodash.
Kodash.
Hayah.
Shemka.
Yahweh. Malak with God. Laba'ah. Ratazai. Hayah. I.S.U.P.K.
Baratiza.
Kawak. Hayah. Bashemayim. The thunder now. Lakam. Cow. Yawam. Wasalak now. Kabawaki now. Kasalak now. Kabawaki now. Wala'ah. Gabe'ayah now. Benasaya 1. Abal. Hawashaya now. Mayan. Rye. Kaya. Lakab. Hamalaku. Wa'ala. Wa'atapara. La'alayanin. Aman.
In English, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done. In earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day. Our daily bread. And forgive us of our debts. As we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation. But deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom. And the power. And the glory. Forever. So be it.
Let's say, cut the power. Yahweh.
Ba'Shem.
Yahushua. Baba Kashah. The thunder now. Hakah. Larpa'ah. Kalmakallah. Wakal Hakah. Latahab. Hamatazarayim. Hakah. Lahakwi. Hamathi. Hakah. Arakawa. Hatama'al. Lagarashun. Ba'Shem. Yahushua. Wadaman.
In English, Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh. Please give us the power. The power to heal. All manner of sickness. And all manner of disease. The power to cleanse the lepers. The power to raise the dead. The power against unclean spirits. To cast them out. In the name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it.
Let's say, bless Israel. Yahweh. Ba'Shem. Yahushua. Baraklanah. YAHANNA. Wahabayah. Sapariyam. Barak. Rapah. Magun. Ba'Shem. Yahushua. Wadaman.
In English? Okay. Yahweh. In the name of Yahweh. Bless us. And Israel. And the school. Bless. Heal. Shield. Protect. Our loved ones. In the name of Yahweh. Thank you. So be it.
We're going to say Psalms 181. Asha'ah.
Ayanya.
Al-Haharim. Mahayan. Ba'Yah. Isaiah. Ma'ayin. Yahweh. I.S.U.P.K. Shemayim. Wa'aratiza. Al-Yathan. Lamawat. Regalka. Al-Yanawam. Shamarka. Hannah. La'ah. Yanawam. Wala'ah. Yahishun. Shawamah. Yasha'ala. Yahweh. Shamarka. Yahweh. Tizalka. Aliyah. Yaminka. Yawamah. Hashemah. La'ah. Lakaka. Wayarak. Alayallah. Yahweh. Yashamarka. Makalrai. Yashamar. Athnapashka. Yahweh. Yashamar. Taza'athka. Wabu'athka. Ma'aitha. Wa'awalam. Tuwadaman.
In English, I will lift up my eyes into the hills. From
whence cometh my help?
Help come from Yahweh.
My help cometh from Yahweh.
Which made heaven and
earth.
He will not suffer thy foot to be moved.
He
He that keepeth thee. Will not slumber. Behold. He that keepeth Israel. Shall neither slumber nor sleep. Yahweh is thy keeper. Yahweh is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day. Nor the moon by night. Yahweh shall preserve thee. From all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. Yahweh shall preserve thy going out. And thy coming in. This time forth. And even forevermore. So be it.
Let's sing Psalms 83. Alahayim. Al-Damayalaka. Al-Thakarash. Wa Al-Tashakwat. Al. Kayahana.
Ka Yahanna.
White. Awa Yabayak.
Awabika.
Awa Yabika.
YAHANNA.
Yahaba Yawan.
YAHANNA.
Wamashanayaka.
YAHANNA.
Nasha Awa.
Nasha Awa.
Ra'ash. Al Imaka.
ISUPK.
Ya'ira. Yamwa.
Yahweh.
Sawada.
Sawada.
Wa'athwa.
Wa'athwa.
Ya'itazawa.
Ya'itazawa.
Al Tazabawanika.
Al-Tazabawanika.
Amarwa.
Amara.
Lakawa.
Lakawa.
Wanakakida.
Wanakakida.
Magawa.
Magawa.
Wala'a.
Wala'a.
Yazakar.
Yazakar.
Sham Yasha'al.
Sham Yasha'al.
Iwad.
Iwad.
Kaya.
Kaya.
Nawaitazawa.
Nawaitazawa.
La. Yakadwa.
Yakadwa.
Alyaka.
Alyaka.
Bayat.
Bayat.
Yakarwathwa.
Yakarathwa.
Al-Alya.
Hallelujah.
Adawam.
Adawam.
Waya Shemai.
Wama Shemai.
Alya Yam.
Al-Yam.
Mawa'aba.
Mawa'aba.
Wahagarian.
Wahagarian.
Gabal.
Gabal.
Wa'aimawan.
Wa'aimawan.
Wa'aimalak.
Wa'aimalak.
Palashat.
Palashat.
Am Yashabia.
Am Yashabia.
Tazawa.
Tazawa.
Gum Ashawar.
Gum Ashawar.
Nalawat.
Nalawat.
Imam.
Iman.
Hayawat.
Hayarab.
Zarawai.
Zarawai.
Labanya Lawat.
Labanya Lawat.
Salat.
Salah.
Aisha Laham.
Ashalaham.
Kamadia.
Kamadia.
Kasaya Ra'ira.
Kasaya Ira.
Kayabia.
Kayali.
Banakal.
Banakal.
Kawashawan.
Wayashawan.
Nashamadwa.
Nashamadwa.
Ba'ayan Da'arwa.
Bayan the Ara.
Hayawa.
Hayawa.
Daman.
Daman.
La'adama.
La'adama.
Shayathamwa.
Shayathamwa.
Nadawa.
Nadawa.
Yamawa.
Nabiwa.
Yamawa.
Yamawa.
Ka'ira.
Kaira.
Wakazaba.
Wakazaba.
Wakazabak.
Wakazabak.
Wakatazamana.
Wakazamana.
Kal Nasa Yakamwa.
Kal Nasa Yakamwa.
Ashar.
Ashar.
Amarwa.
Amara.
Nayira'ash.
Ash.
Lanawa.
Lanawa.
Af. Na'athwa.
Na'athwa.
Alahayim.
Alahayim.
Alahaya.
Alahaya.
Shayathamwa.
Shayathamwa.
Kagagala.
Kagagala.
Kakwash.
Kakwash.
Lapanya Rakwa.
Labanya Rakwa.
Ka'ash.
Ash.
Sabaira Ya'ira.
Tabaira.
Wakalabath.
Wakalabath.
Thalahat.
Talahat.
Haryam.
Haryam.
Khan.
Khan.
Tharadatma.
Tharadatma.
Basa'iraka.
Basa'iraka.
Wabasawapathka.
Wabasawapaka.
Thabalaham.
Tabahalam.
Mala'ah.
Mala'ah.
Panyaham.
Panyaham.
Kwalawan.
Kwalawan.
Wayabakwashwa.
Wayabakwashwa.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Yahawa.
Yahawa.
Yabashwa.
Yabashwa.
Wayaba'awa.
Wayaba'awa.
Aja'ai.
Aja'ai.
Wayakaparwa.
Wayakaparwa.
Wayabadwa.
Wayabadwa.
Wayada'aiwa.
Wayada'ira.
Kaya'atha.
Kaya'atha.
Shamka.
Shamka.
Yahawa.
Yahawa.
Labadka.
Labadka.
Ayawan.
Ayawan.
Al-Ka'aratiza.
Al-Ka'aratiza.
The Wa'ad Aman.
The Wa'ad.
In English, keep not thy silence, O Yahweh.
Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh.
Hold not thy peace.
Hold not thy
And
peace.
be not still,
And be not
O
still.
Yahweh.
O Yahweh.
For lo,
For lo,
thy enemies make a tumult.
thine enemies make a tumult.
And they that hated thee,
And they that hated thee
have lifted up the head.
have lifted up the head.
They have taken crafty counsel.
They have taken crafty counsel
against thy people.
against thy people.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Against thy hidden ones.
They have said,
They have said,
Come, and let us cut them off.
And let us cut them
From
off.
being a nation.
From being a nation.
In the name of Israel.
In the name of Israel.
There be no more in remembrance.
There be no more remembrance.
They have consulted together.
They have consulted together
With one consent.
with one consent.
They are confederate against thee.
They are confederate against
The
thee.
tabernacles of Edom.
The tabernacles of Edom.
And the Ishmaelites.
And the Ishmaelites.
Of Moab.
Of Moab.
And the Hagarenes.
And the Hagarenes.
Gabal.
Gabal.
And Ammon.
And Ammon.
And Amalek.
And Amalek. The
Philistines.
Philistines.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
With the inhabitants of Tyre.
Asher also is joined with them.
Asher is also joined with them.
They have hope in the children of Lot.
They have hope in the children of Lot. Salah.
Do unto them.
Do unto them.
As unto the Midianites.
As unto the Midianites.
As to Sisera.
As to Sisera.
As to Jabin.
As to Jabin.
And the brook of Kishon.
And the brook of Kishon.
Which perished at Endor.
Which perished at Endor.
Make their notes like it. Make their nobles like a red.
Make their nobles like a red.
Like Zedek.
And like Zedek.
Yea. All their princes.
All their princes.
As Zabah.
As Zabah.
And as Amunah.
And as Amunah.
Who said, let us take to ourselves.
Let us take to ourselves.
The houses of Yahweh possession.
The houses of Yahweh possession.
Oh my power.
Oh my power.
Make them like a wheel.
Make them like a wheel.
As the summer before the wind.
As the summer before the wind.
As the fire burneth in wood.
And as the fire burns
And
the
as
wood.
the flame set the mountains on fire.
And as the flame set the mountains on fire.
So persecute them.
So persecute
with
them.
thy tempest.
With thy
And
tempest.
make them afraid.
Make them afraid.
With thy storm.
With thy storm.
Fill their faces.
Fill their faces
with shame.
with shame.
That they may seek thy name.
That they may seek thy
Oh
name.
Yahweh.
Oh Yahweh.
Let them be confounded.
Let them be confounded.
In trouble forever.
In trouble forever.
Yea.
Yea.
Let them be put to shame.
Let them be put to shame.
And perish.
And perish.
That they may know.
That men may know.
That thou.
That thou.
Whose name alone.
Whose name alone.
Is Yahweh.
Is Yahweh.
Art the Most High.
The Most High.
Over all the earth.
Over all the earth.
So be it.
So be it.
We're going to see the blessings for the power structure. Barakatha Yahweh.
Barakatha Yahweh.
Wa Yahweh Shah.
Wa Yahweh Shah.
Wa Mayake Allah.
Wa Mayake Allah.
Wa Alahayim.
Wa Alahayim.
Matazabayah.
Matazabayah.
Alawak Yahanna.
Alawak Yahanna.
Ha Alawak.
Ha Alawak.
Ha Saranyim.
Ha Saranyim.
Ha Kwataziyanim.
Ha Kwataziyanim.
Ha Kwayayanim.
Ha Kwayayanim.
Wa Ha Kwathiim.
Wa Ha Kwathiim.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
Ba'ashem.
Ba'ashem.
Yahushua.
Yahushua.
Wadama.
Wadama.
In English, bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
And Yahushua.
And Yahushua.
And Michael.
And Michael.
And the angels.
And the angels.
Commanding General Yohanna.
Commanding General Yohanna.
The generals.
The generals.
The captains.
The captains.
The officers.
The troopers.
And the sisters.
And the sisters.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So be it.
So be it.
All right, pray against our enemies. Bless you, Yahweh.
Bless you, Yahweh.
King of heaven and earth.
King of heaven and earth.
And all things living.
And all things living.
Yahweh.
Yahweh.
In the name of Yahushua.
In the name of Yahushua.
Listen to us now.
Listen to us now.
Right now.
Right now.
Since evils and curses.
Since evils and curses.
The punishment and destruction.
And punishment and destruction.
To the heathens.
To the heathens.
That speak against us.
That speak against
Thy
us.
prophets.
Thy prophets.
The teachers.
The teachers.
The princes.
The princes.
The priests.
The priests.
The Israelite brothers.
The Israelite brothers.
And the schools.
And the schools.
Since evils and curses.
Since evils and curses.
Punishment and destruction.
And punishment and destruction.
To the heathens.
To the heathens.
And shake loose.
And shake loose.
The treasure.
The treasures.
Of the rich of Israel.
Of the rich of Israel.
That refuse to give to the school.
That refuse to give to the school.
Force their riches.
Force their riches.
Into thy sanctuary.
Into thy sanctuary.
Send evils and curses.
And the evils and curses.
And punishment and destruction.
And punishment and destruction.
To the Edomites.
To the Edomites.
And the nations.
And the nations.
And the drug dealers.
And the drug dealers.
The court system.
The court system.
The prison system.
The prison system.
Planned Parenthood.
Planned Parenthood.
All the governments of our enemies.
All the governments of our enemies.
Amalek synagogue and army.
Amalek synagogue and armies.
Roman Catholic Church.
The Roman Catholic Church.
The Pope.
Islam.
Christianity.
Egyptology. Militia.
Ku Klux Klan.
Ku Klux Klan.
Aryan Nation.
Aryan Nation.
Skinheads.
Posse Comitazi.
The gay
The
movement.
The lesbian movement.
Spies. Workers of witchcraft.
Workers of witchcraft.
NASA space program.
NASA space program.
Army. Navy. Air Force.
Marines.
Wall Street. Open up the internet. And the airwaves. The cable access channel. The radio channel. Convict the spirit. Of any of thy people. That seek to stop us. Bring swift destruction. To all the heathens. Send it away. Try to stop us. Broadcasting your word. Throughout the planet Earth. Let loose all the plagues. Cause them to go to and fro. Through the earth. And consume. Let the plagues. Shake the house of the thief. And the murderer. Like Yahushua. Michael. And Gabriel. Come down with the flying saucers. Punish all the heathens. That come up against us. Speak thy word. Cause it to be known by all. That is the angels that have done it. Cause it to be spread through the media. Throughout the whole world. Cause it to shake at thy coming. In the name of Yahushua. Thank you always.
So be it.
With that, Sar, you mean turn, since you can have a seat. We're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher, individual Madam Shabbat, Imajim, Barak, Yasmata, Sar, sister, please stand. We give one courtesy salute to the sister, individual Madam Shabbat, Imajim, Barak,
Yahushua, Ba'ashem Yahushua.
Yasmata, class dismissed.
have something.
Do me a favor and
You know the address
the
yet?
food that's in the kitchen.